All right. Today we have Melissa Manning, and today she's going to tell us what she does and how she got into it, and how did you get started doing business coaching?
Business coaching. Okay.
Mhm.
My name is Melissa Manning, and I am what I call a serial entrepreneur. I basically just start businesses. Since about 8 years ago, I've started, or maybe 9 years ago now, we're in 2020. I've started approximately 15 businesses. All of those
That's amazing.
businesses, thanks. All of those businesses, except for one of them, are still in operation. Um, I'm not involved with all of them anymore, but I was like heavily involved with the creation of them and then like the initial management of them. Currently, I'm running, I think, 5 businesses. I have a yoga studio. I have a couple of coffee shops. I have a bar restaurant. I have my coaching business, and then I have my Audacious Founder platform, which is a platform meant to inspire entrepreneurs that are already entrepreneuring and up and coming entrepreneurs who plan on doing something. They just haven't maybe had the support and the encouragement and the motivation to start getting it done yet. So I believe that was 5. And then I am sure that I'm forgetting one because I normally do. But so that, how I started specifically business coaching. Do you want me to talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah. What made you get into it?
So,
Interesting story. How you got into it?
so I've always been starting or scheming on my own businesses, and I have a good friend of mine who is a social worker. And so her and I would get together and we would just talk about, she worked in a house that was for young girls who had gone through traumatic events and they needed like full on therapy and sort of like more direct counseling and things like that. And so her and I would get together and we would just kind of talk about, what am I doing? What is she working on with these girls and the things that she's going through, and kind of working on with her patients as a social worker. And through these deep conversations, she would always tell me, Melissa, you should really go back to school for psychology. You should become a therapist or a psychologist or something. And I was like, oh, no, all that schooling, I don't want to do it. And so finally one day she was like, you know what? You should do coaching then. If you don't want to go back to school or that much schooling, you should do coaching, because you're so good at motivating people to do things. And at the same time, you're super empathetic and compassionate with, like, you can very easily understand where someone is coming through, and you can see kind of the emotions and the feelings that they've got inside even before they might acknowledge them outside. And I agree with that. I think that I've always been very, very intuitive with other people. I can, just from looking at them, I can, subconsciously, I can pick up on all the body language, all the signals that they're putting out without them even realizing it. And with just a few words, it's very easy for me to see sort of the blocks that they have, or the things that are holding them back, or kind of like the rackets. Rackets is sort of like the stories or the negative habits that you are always telling yourself or carrying. And so it's very easy for me to see these rackets that people are carrying without them even consciously knowing about it.
You have some of the rackets that people come up with.
It's very, like, a lot of people have the common ones, like, I don't have enough money, or people like me can't do that, or I'm not smart enough, beautiful enough. I'm not the kind of person who could accomplish X, Y, and Z. I have to take care of my kid. So there's no, it's reckless. It's irresponsible for me to go and pursue whatever this crazy thing is, So it's very common, and people have all, like, for the most part, there's a couple general ones that people usually stick to. Every once in a while, you'll get something a little unique, but it's more about, like, the stories that people are telling themselves habitually that they're not even conscious of. But so then in that moment, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to go and find a course, and I'm going to get my coaching certification. So I did. I found a course, and I did this course for about 1 year. It took me. And I have a 6-year-old daughter, so I was doing it from 9 to 12 a.m. every night, or not every night, twice a week. And so 3 hours twice a week. And towards the end of it, it was so challenging for me to just stay present because I was so exhausted just from all the things that I'm doing day to day, and then taking care of my child, and then having to stay up until midnight just focusing on this course.
Wow.
Yeah, but I
9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. So you wouldn't even get to bed to probably like 1.
Well, if I was able to stay awake through the last 30 minutes of the class, then yeah.
Gotcha. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and then once I started doing it, I was like, this is the first time that I've ever felt the way I felt. When I finish a coaching session, seeing that person, it's literally an energy shift from the moment they walk in, and compare like a snapshot of the moment they walk in compared to a snapshot of how they're walking out. It's a complete, they look different. The energy is different. Their shoulders are different. Their eyes are different. Everything, they have light around them when they leave. And the feeling that I get seeing that happen, and seeing the progress even over, the course of 3 or 6 months, whatever we're doing, it's the best feeling I've ever had doing anything in my life. So when I started to feel that, I just knew that this was the right path for me.
Nice. For your clients that come to you, when they come to you, what are they coming to you for? And like, what can you work with them on? I know there's a special process that you have to go through, but what's the popular things that your clients are going to you for?
So I would say in general, people struggle with the same kinds of things. Sort of on a macro scale, it's very similar. But then when you get down to it in the fine details, it can be very obviously different because everybody's experiences and what makes them differ. But for the most part, a lot of it is just fear, is people coming in with stories as to why they cannot do what they truly want to do, if they're even able at that point to acknowledge and admit the thing that they really want to do. And then they have all these stories around why it's not possible. But at the same time, they're coming to me because they're not happy in their day-to-day life. They're not happy in the life that they've already created. And so they know in some part of themselves that there is more, that they're capable of more, that life is meant to be more fulfilling than what they're currently experiencing. Yet they may not be able to visualize what that is, or they may not even be able to allow themselves to say it out loud, because that would mean that they are sort of holding themselves accountable. Like, if I can acknowledge that I could possibly become the #1 real estate agent in New York City, if I say that out loud, then it becomes sort of more possible, and it becomes sort of more of a commitment that I have to then take action around. And people don't want to take action around the things that they truly want for fear of failure. So I would say fear of failure is probably the most common in a macro scale, the most common thing that people do.
Fear is one of the most powerful elements that is out there, is fear.
Yeah.
Interesting. And do you help out? I know you're a business coach, but do you help out on any other subjects, any other topics besides business?
Yes. So I do business and life. I really think that those obviously go hand in hand, because if your personal life, if your personal life is not where you want it to be, then your business could be potentially affected by that. And if your business life is not going the way you want it to go, then your personal life will 1,000% be affected by that. So I think that they are intertwined. So I do both. I do business consulting, business development, business coaching, and then I also do life coaching. For example, one of my clients came in because he's heartbroken and he can't get over a certain woman that he dated.
That must be popular.
At the end of the day, it's not necessarily this woman that he has to get over, but he has to build confidence in himself. He has to stop, putting his self-worth in the hands of other people or external factors, right? So it's sort of he's coming in thinking that it's just about this person or just about him finding a fulfilling relationship, when it actually goes much, much deeper than that. It's about his relationship with himself, how he speaks to himself, how much he values himself, or in this case, doesn't value himself. So yeah, he would come in. I mean, he specifically that's life coaching, but who knows? Once he gets through this sort of process, then maybe he'll discover that he wants to start a business. Or a lot of the things that are blocking people from starting or running their business to its potential are personal blocks. I'm not good enough. I'm not the person who could have a business that produces this much amount of revenue. I'm not a person who people could look at with respect and admiration. So all of that is sort of like personal feelings and emotions that people have to work through in order to get their business where it needs to be.
Interesting. And just to be clear with the audience, and I know we talked about this once before, you don't offer the advice. You just ask the questions to like guide them in the right direction, correct?
Yeah, so there's actually
wondering about that.
Yeah, there's very specific differences between therapy and mentorship and coaching and whatever other things that are kind of similar to that. Therapy specifically focuses on the past, and it can focus on the future, but it's more about dealing with sort of those emotional blockages that have, or the emotional traumatic experiences that have happened in the past. Mentorship is more sort of saying, I've done this, I have the experience, this is what you have to do. Coaching is, or even consulting is kind of like, this is what you need to be doing to get to X, Y, and Z. Gotcha. Coaching is more so, we really believe that the client, or at least the technique that I use, which I really, really love, is we believe that the client already knows the answers. I don't know what's right for you. I am not God or whoever, you believe in. I am not that person who can say, this is what you need to be doing with your life. This is why you were born, and this is your gift. I might see some of that, and I might try to guide you to that. But at the end of the day, you already know what you want to be doing with your life, even if you haven't acknowledged it yet. You have it like deep down in your gut, and it's my job to sort of like put a fishing line down there and pull it up. And I do that through questions. I ask you questions. So, I ask you, what do you want? Okay, you want this. Why do you want that? Why is that important to you? Oh, you want that because it makes you feel important, because it makes you feel like you have purpose. When have you felt like that before in your life? When you were painting. Oh, interesting. When was the last time you painted? 10 years? Oh, okay. What would happen if you started painting again? How would you feel? And so on and so on. It's kind of like just asking questions to lead to the things that we've sort of buried a little bit.
Right. It's also like you helping them remove the blocks that's blocking their path in a way.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
It's interesting. I like how you put it, how you gave a definition for each three to make it easier for people to say, hey, which one do I need and which one's good for me?
Yeah. And I really think that they're also interchangeable. Like, I think therapy is super valuable because we've all got junk. We've all got junk that we need to sort through. We need to sift through. We need to kind of face it and work through it so that we can then let it dissipate and just like put it to the side. But then coaching is really like future based. Okay, this is where we're at. This is where I want to get to. This is what I want, whether it's business or personal life related. Now, how do I get there? I want to find, in this case with this guy that I was using an example of, I want to find a perfect, amazing relationship. Okay, well, how does one find a personal, amazing relationship? And then I get him talking, and he starts to basically make suggestions. It's basically he's giving himself his own advice that he's been ignoring. He knows what the right thing to do is. He knows how to like go out there, find dates and things like this, but he's not going to do it because he's scared. Maybe he's scared to fail, or there's other things that he needs to work through first.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of my friend when I was giving him advice when he was broken up from his girlfriend. I was like, man, you gotta, women like a guy with confidence, you know? So if you're all sad and depressed and looking down, yeah, it's not going to work, you know? And
Yeah.
and then he thought about it. He's like, you know what? You're right. He goes, I know, but I just can't right now. And I'm like, okay, I understand, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But, and then later on, he's like, okay, I know what to do now. And then he bounced back up. And so it only took him a few days, but you know,
Yeah.
but
Cool.
he bounced back.
Yeah, it's kind of too about when people are ready. And if they're specifically seeking out a coach, it means to a certain extent they're ready to make some kind of a change.
Do you have repeat clients? Like, for your clients, like, is it like a one session, or is it repeatable to where like it's 6 months, or you break it up? How do you work yours out?
Yeah, I usually do packages.
Okay.
I do have single sessions, but I encourage people to do more than one because, it's a habit. It's like sort of habit creation. You need to continue. If you do it one time, you'll have an aha moment one time, and then you'll go back to your same routine again. So it's sort of like repetition and like creating those new habits and that new way of thinking. If you have an aha moment where you think of, oh, I constantly talk down to myself and I constantly tell myself I'm dumb or I'm not smart enough to do this. Whenever I make a mistake at work, I am like, oh man, you're so dumb. If you realize in that first session that you are talking to yourself like that, right, and you realize that that's not really going to help you move forward, and then you never come back for another session, the likelihood is that you'll forget about that realization after 3, 4, 5 days. And you'll go back to that habit. But if you continue sort of working the muscle of awareness, of sort of figuring out what your thought patterns are, then you're building the muscle to be able to stop the thought patterns and replace them with something positive. And then the other thing too is that every session we set goals and we set steps. Obviously, the client is the one who sets them for themselves, and the client is accountable to themselves. However, having that moment where you're really focusing on the things that you want and you're really visualizing the things. How often do you sit down and really visualize your future and the things that you want to manifest in your future? Probably not frequently.
True.
Yeah, or for most people, I don't believe it's frequent that they're doing this. And so to have that maybe weekly moment, hour, where you're really focusing on what's possible for your life, where you want to take it, what you want to build, and you're creating it in your mind so that you can see it detail by detail. And then you are creating small, tiny, reasonable, easy steps that you can do to start creating momentum towards manifesting that. It becomes so much more accessible. It becomes so much more realistic for you, even if you still have people squawking in your ear that it's not realistic. Or even if you still have that part of your ego that's telling you it's not realistic. You have that moment every single week where you know, you can feel it in your body that it's real and that you're going to get it. And so if you do that one time, that ain't gonna do anything. That's like, I don't know, taking when you have strep throat and you take the antibiotics for the first day. That's not gonna cure it. You gotta take it for the whole time. So that's with coaching. You can do it one session. That's better than nothing. You'll realize some stuff and then maybe you'll make some changes, but it's really like, if you want the full value, if you're really committed to getting change, you need to do like a long period of, this is a lifelong thing. Like, Tony Robbins gets paid millions of dollars a year.
Oh yeah.
People who already make billions of dollars. So it's like there's no point where coaching and therapy and like sort of building awareness of who you are, what you want, and how to get it. There's no point at which that should stop ever. But so in terms of packages, I normally do 3-month package, 6-month package, and a 9-month package. And then I do have individual sessions as well.
Perfect. Do you offer a trial, like a 30-minute trial?
Yeah, I have a free 30-minute trial, sort of like introduction. We can get to know each other. Somebody once told me that finding a therapist I'm not a therapist, I'm a coach. Finding a therapist is like finding a soulmate. You have to find that person that really like you really have chemistry with and you mesh well. And I feel the same way about coaching for the most part. It might be a little bit less strict than that, but for the most part, it really should be somebody who we just work well together. Some people don't, we all have different styles. So it should really be someone that can appreciate the way I'm doing things. Sometimes people just, they want to be told, and that's not what I'm going to do. So the intro session is kind of like a moment for me to explain what exactly I do, why I believe in it, and then see if they feel like that will work for them.
And yeah, it's important to have that intro session. So, you know, there's no commitment, there's no worry, you know.
Yep.
Feel
Expectations.
for each other.
Yep.
Interesting. How can someone get in touch with you for more information?
Yeah. So they can go to my website. My website is citrineagency.com, and they can send me an email or just a message from the website. Or they can go onto Instagram and they can contact me at citrineagency_ and send me a DM. And I also have some other Instagrams, but probably it's better if I don't give too many. Yeah.
Yeah, the website and the Instagram's perfect. And I'll have links below in the description to help out everybody and make it easier.
Okay.
So they can find you.
Great.
Do you have any plans in the future? Any projects coming up in the future?
Yes. So I have been wanting to write a book for a really long time.
Come on back when you're done.
Yeah, I will for sure. I've been wanting to write a book literally since I've been a child. I have just had this feeling that I would write a book. When I was little, I used to make my own books out of just like printer paper and cardboard, and I would illustrate them and I would write stories and novels.
Wow.
You know, when I was very small.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I've always had this feeling that I would be an author, and then the last couple of years, it's been just getting stronger and stronger, and sort of more specific on what that book is going to be. And then just literally the last, I want to say 3 months, it has been popping up everywhere. People have been texting me saying, like, I have a friend that is a publisher, and she just texted me out of the blue saying, I heard that you wanted to write a book. Let me know if you have any questions about that. And what? How did she even, I don't even know how she heard about that. So it's been coming up in very sort of indirect ways that are really kind of signs for me that now is the time to do it.
Perfect. Yes. And I would like to add, I put a note, you know, in my spreadsheet, and I put a note, business coach, entrepreneur, author.
Aha. See, that was another one.
Yeah. She corrected me. She goes, I'm not an author. And I'm like, I could have sworn I heard you was writing a book or something. I was like, and then you told me your story. I'm like, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there. And then you prove it.
Yes, you're keeping it in the universe for me. You're keeping it out there.
Absolutely. It's still there. And did you mention what the book would be about, or what kind of book you're interested in doing?
So it's definitely going to be some sort of personal growth book. I haven't really specified or like really nailed down exactly what the kind of path of it will be. I know it's going to be something about really figuring out what your gift is in the world, and then just going for it no matter what. Like I said, I've opened so many businesses that I want to show other people how I did that, and how I just, you know, I don't let anything stop me. I don't let all of the unknowns stop me. I don't let the fear stop me. And I want to show everyone else how to do that, because it's so important to me. I believe that it's so important that everybody is living their lives in their gift, because I really believe that everybody was put here for a certain reason, even if it's as simple as like you make the best pie, maybe you make the best sweet potato pie, and you know, like that is a gift. That is a gift, and that should be spread out into the world. And so I really want to write something that encourages and inspires people on putting their gift out into the world. And you know, I've sort of created steps for myself that it's like you figure out what you want, you keep yourself inspired all the time. You literally have to weed out all of the things that are around you that bring you down at all, even if it's just a little bit. And then you just take these tiny steps one after the other to start creating what you want and start kind of getting those conversations going. And so I really just want to hone that message and really get it to be more direct. And then I think a book will be manifested out of that.
Nice. That's interesting. That is interesting. And like I said, whenever that book is completed and whenever you're ready to talk about it, come on back. So
I will, for sure.
And we'll discuss about the book. Do you have a YouTube channel?
For the Citrine Agency, I do not have a YouTube channel yet. I have just started one for my brand called The Audacious Founder. It is on YouTube, The Audacious Founder, and we're starting with a series called Ask Anything, where we have our Instagram followers and our friends submit questions that have to do with entrepreneurship, running a business, hiring employees, whatever the case may be, and I answer them. Nice. And so we're going to slowly expand that.
Perfect.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a ton of information on there, I'm sure. You're probably going to get questions from every walk of life. Yeah. Anything else in the future coming up?
Nothing super specific. The other thing, what I really want to be focusing on in 2020 and going forward are just growing the brands that I already have. I've always been someone who's like, on to the next thing. And this has been a criticism that I always get. That you're like that?
Oh, yeah. Throughout the years, yes.
It's fun. It's fun to try new things and experiment, especially if you're doing it with things that you really enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been my pattern, is that I'll open a business that has nothing to do with any of my other businesses. But I think I'm going to try to sort of keep it in the circle this year or going forward. I'm going to really yeah, I know that all of the brands that I've created right now, they have a lot of potential for growth. My yoga studio, we've been wanting to open a second location for about 2 years now. And so I'm not going to push it off anymore. This year, we're going to open a second location. And then the coffee shops, I'm going to be opening more of those. They're small coffee shops that I'm going to, they're in larger facilities. So sort of like a Starbucks in a hotel kind of situation. And so I'm going to grow that as well. And then
interesting.
My bar restaurant it has so much potential. And I have kind of discovered that there are kind of 3 categories that I'm going to turn it into. I'm going to have it be a bar restaurant. I'm going to have it be a cafe. And then I'm going to have it be a bake shop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we do vegan food. So I want to create a vegan pastry line.
And if you could, tell everybody where's the coffee shops and the bar restaurant.
So all of my businesses are based in Brooklyn, New York. One of my coffee shops is technically in Queens, but it's very close.
Close enough.
Yeah. The bar restaurant is in Bushwick, Brooklyn. It's like a very up-and-coming area where it's being now referred to as the Times Square of Brooklyn. So we'll see how
that's interesting.
It's called The Gradient, and our Instagram is The Gradient BK. It's very, very cool. We do events. We have vegan bar food, really good vegan food that you would never know that it's vegan. And that's sort of the point. I kind of have a theory that if vegan food tasted like a lot of the foods we're used to eating as growing up, not being vegetarian, not being vegan, that more non-vegetarian vegan people would try it and like it and maybe continue eating it.
Yes.
Yeah, and then my coffee shops, I have one in Bushwick, Brooklyn, and then I have one in Ridgewood, Queens. I'm looking at some spaces in Williamsburg, Brooklyn right now, which is like probably like one of the coolest areas of Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
The most trendy area of Brooklyn.
It's like up and coming?
It's already there. $10,000 apartments per month. 10 G's per month.
Yeah, it sounds like it's up there.
It's there, but it's beautiful. It's got the Hudson River right there, so you're looking at the water and then the view of Manhattan. So it's very beautiful.
Very nice. Very nice. And the next time we're in New York, we're going to check out these places.
Yes. let me know. Please let me know.
Absolutely. We're going to check
Yeah.
out both. We're going to check because she loves coffee. She loves coffee. She loves Brooklyn. She loves New York. So it's a win-win.
Perfect.
Now, since you brought up the coffee and the bar and restaurant, how did you get into that? How did you get into the coffee business, and how did you get into the bar restaurant?
So it's interesting to me that when people think about starting businesses, they usually think in terms of their experience, right? Like, oh,
Mm,
I don't have experience working in a coffee shop, so I can't start one. I don't have experience. And that makes sense. It's logical, right? But
yes.
people forget that they're very capable of learning and figuring it out as they go. And so that's basically what I did with the coffee shop. I had opened an art studio complex in Queens, in Ridgewood. It was my second one. It was a very large warehouse building that we converted into smaller sort of offices and art studio spaces. And I love coffee too, just like your wife. And this area was a little bit of a desert. I mean, there are no deserts in New York, but
I,
it was a coffee
I was
desert.
like, I'm listening.
Yeah, yeah. It was a coffee desert, and I have this building that will house or like house people for office space for about like it'll be about 300 people in this building, and there's no coffee, and people are working and creating. We need coffee, so I found a partner, and she and I started the coffee shop in this building. It was like a little corner space in the building that had access to the sidewalk. So we put a tiny coffee shop in there. Neither of us had worked in a coffee shop before. Neither of us knew how it should be laid out or why, or really like even the equipment that we needed. But just through contacting people, just through reaching out to people, the vendors that we needed to, and just through asking questions, we figured everything out. And definitely now it's been about 5 years since 5 years since we started that one, that
Oh,
first
wow.
one. There's definitely things that I would have done different now, you know, like the layout and the type of equipment that we got, the type of employees that we hired. There's definitely things that I would do different now that probably would have helped me produce a profit faster. However, I started a business in this business in 2015, and had I waited to, you know, maybe gain more experience and go work in another coffee shop so that I could learn what I needed to be doing,
Hmm.
maybe I wouldn't have started it for another year, or maybe I wouldn't have started it for another 2 years, or maybe I wouldn't have started it at all.
Right, right. It might have deterred you from it.
Exactly. There's always reasons why not to do something. And so instead of looking for those reasons, I just jump into it and I figure it out. I ask the questions, I contact the people I need to contact, I read about it, I research online about it. And it always ends up working out.
And the most important thing is that you got started. Like you went for it and you got started. You didn't like push it off. You didn't say, nah, I'll do it later or I'll look into it later. You know, you're like,
Exactly.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
And that's always how I've been. That's how I still am. And I'm a bit wiser now, but that's always also been what other people criticize me on, is that I just jump into things, impulsive, you know, but it's always turned out well. And the other thing I really like about that is that instead of learning how someone else does it, which is good because you learn what not to do, but it also can kind of compromise how you would do it if there was no other external pressure or like external influence on you, right? So like if I have a vision for my own coffee shop, how I would love for it to be, if I then go work at another coffee shop, that might get diluted a little bit by what they're doing and how they're doing it, which could be beneficial. It could make my vision, my brand better, or it could dilute it and make me lose my vision. So
Mm.
I kind of like that I go into things fresh and new, and I figure out what I really want, and then I create that. And that's what I've done with the bar restaurant. The bar restaurant, it's still in progress too, because I'm still building the brand. but I'm really going into it with a fresh mind and trying to create something the way I would love for it to be if I had never really experienced other restaurants and other bars. And that's really exciting for me. I'm trying to create something new.
Interesting. Now, how did you get into that? Is that the same business partner, or is that someone different for the bar and the restaurant?
That's actually, I don't have a business partner in that at the
Okay.
moment. I do have some investors, but I don't have any management partners. Um, and this is kind of a longer story too. I had wanted to open another cafe, a bit of a larger one with a larger menu and more seating, and perhaps a wine and beer, um, ability to serve wine and beer. And so I began looking for spaces for that business. And then slowly it began to grow. If I'm going to have wine and beer, I might as well have a full liquor license. If
That
I'm
was
going
my
to have,
next question. Do you have do you serve liquor as well?
yeah, we do. We have a full bar. And so then I began going to look at retail spaces with my contractor, and my contractor kept saying, oh no, this space isn't worth the money. This isn't, the work that we have to do here. It's not worth it.
Mm,
He told me, come look at my space. He had a warehouse building in Ridgewood, Queens, close to my first coffee shop.
mm.
And so I went to look at this space. He told me he was going to give me an incredible deal on it. And I went to look at this space, and it was about 3 or 4 times larger than what I actually needed. And my kind of weakness and my strength is to be able to see the potential in any space. I can look at the space, I can walk into it, and I can visualize what it can be.
Nice. That's very important.
Yeah. So I visualized that this space would be a music venue, bar, and restaurant. So after about 9 months of negotiating a lease with him, I realized that I wasn't getting the kind of deal that I really wanted. And so I realized that this particular project or negotiation in this building wasn't going to work. Right at that same time, I heard about this other bar restaurant that the lease was being sold. So I
Mm.
went and contacted them, and I went to see it, and the space was beautifully built out. Everything I needed was already in the space. They gave me a very good deal. And so the rest is history. I got it. I got that space, and we've been open now almost 9 months. And it sounds like a long time, but it's actually not. This has been the most challenging business I've ever had.
Is it doing pretty good, or?
It's doing well. It's starting to pick up. We started kind of in the mid to end of summer, and now we are, obviously it's wintertime, so wintertime is usually slower, especially when we're having blizzards outside like right now.
Yes.
So yeah, it's starting to pick up. It takes a while. It takes a long time for you to gain awareness in people's psyches, in customers' minds. You have to sort of like rent space in their minds,
I
and then
could see that. I could see that. It's like, oh, what I want to do tonight. Well, let's go check out this place. Or, hey, you remember that place we went to 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? Let's check it out again. So I could see that. Hmm.
mhm. And it might take you, you might forget about it for a month, and then it might, you might be reminded of it, and you're like, oh yeah, I never went there. Let me go there tonight. But it might take you a month, and it might take that person 2 months. So it definitely, operating a bar restaurant is very challenging, much more so than I expected. But I have the learning curve has been very, very large, and I feel that after this project, I literally am capable of absolutely anything.
Yeah, if you could pull that one off, you could pull off a lot. I'm sure. Absolutely. Yeah, we went down that road. We looked into it, and then once when we realized how much stuff is needed to be done, we kind of like put that off. So, nah, we'll explore other things and do other things.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors.
Hmm.
Hmm.
How about this question? If you could do it again, would you do it again?
So fascinating how that changes. Like, if you had asked me that about maybe 4 months ago, I would have said, absolutely not, never again in my life. And now, 9 months in, I'm like, where's our second location going to be?
Nice.
Yep. I'm going
Spoken like a true
to,
entrepreneur.
yep, I'm going to create a big brand out of this one.
Yeah, even with real estate for me, it's like, oh man, it's like, I don't know about this real estate thing. And then it's like a few months later, I need to get another one.
Mhm.
Where's the next one at?
Do you have investment properties?
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
I sure do. And that can lead me to my next question. I was going to ask you earlier when we talked. I think your first business, in a way, your first investment was a rental property, correct?
Yes, I currently only have two of them, but I bought my first one when I was 22,
Yes.
right
That's
after I had
amazing. Amazing.
right after I had graduated college. I used to read real estate books when I was in middle school and high school. I was reading real estate books, and I used to say that I wanted to be the female Donald Trump. I don't say that anymore. Um, but I used to want to be a real estate tycoon.
Hotels and apartments.
I actually, you know what? I don't want to do hotels. I don't want to do hotels. I just
Gotcha.
want more residential investment properties.
Hmm.
Maybe one day I will do a hotel. That might change once I get to be a tycoon. But as of right now, just residential properties. Um, I do currently have two multifamily properties in Brooklyn, and this year I plan on buying at least two more. I plan
Nice.
on
That's a good goal.
Yeah, yeah. I plan on buying at least one that has a retail space on the bottom so that I can put one of my businesses in there. The way McDonald's did or does. They buy the land and then they put their shop on.
Yes.
Yep,
Yes.
yep,
You ever saw that video? Movie that came out?
yep,
Ray, I think I forgot the name of it, but with Ray Kroc, it was interesting.
yep,
His interviews. He's like, I'm not in the burger business. I'm in the real estate business.
exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly.
So yeah, for me, it was like two friends. It kind of like how you were saying, like some people don't want to do the hotels and some people rather focus on residential. I have two friends that they like boutique hotels.
Huh.
And then I have more other friends that are like just residential apartments and stuff. They're like, nah, I don't want to focus on all that other stuff. They're like, mm-mm. They like it easy and steady.
I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, from in a span of 3 or 4 months, the things that I want might fluctuate a little bit. So I guess it just kind of depends on what opportunities are presenting themselves to me and at what time. But if a good hotel opportunity came up, I'd probably take it.
You're
I
like,
don't generally say no.
this is looking pretty good.
Yep.
You get
Yep.
that itch, that buyer's itch.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, just like with the book, whenever you create it, if you have anything else that comes up, whether it's new business ventures or great sessions with clients that you had like, Jason, I got to tell you what happened. Just come on back, and we'll set up another one and discuss it.
I will for sure.
Hmm. So for the bonus round, I think we touched base on everything so far. Your business coaching, your business ventures and everything, how you got started. And for the bonus round, if you could tell the viewers if you have any tips or advice of investing in wealth, health, and yourself.
Any tips or advice in
This could be
investing?
personal or your best advice.
I don't, at the risk of sounding cheesy, I will say, I will say
Or
that I will say that you gotta meditate, and meditate is now, that could be many different things, right?
yeah, yeah, explain that. Yes.
Yeah. But what
You're right.
what
You're right.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of whatever works for you, but you need some quiet time. You need to take some quiet time. For me, it works when I do it first thing in the morning. I set myself up on either like my big cozy chair over here, or I sit in my bed And I just really try to just think about the things that I really want. I just try to quiet my mind and just kind of gain perspective. Actually, one of the things that I noticed recently, I was having a lot of anxiety with the bar restaurant. And so I realized that I was waking up with all of the anxiety flooding into me, like all of the things that needed to be done and all of the maybe problems or issues that were left unresolved that I needed to think about today. And that made it really difficult for me to wake up in a positive state. So um, I have begun to really take note of that and be aware of that, because also when you're waking up in the morning, you're coming through what's called the theta state, which is the state where you are the most creative and you are the most fulfilled, and when you can manifest what you really, really want in life. So having that sort of bombarded by all the anxiety is really not good, really not good. So what I've been doing is really trying to wake up and push out any negative feelings or thoughts that are coming in, and really just focusing on all the things that I want to create. Like positive affirmations, you know, being grateful. So I'm waking up and I'm saying, oh, I'm so thankful for my cozy bed. I'm so thankful that I'm so warm right now. I'm so thankful that I get to sleep, maybe 20 minutes later, or whatever the case may be. I'm waking up with these positive feelings. And then I'm waking up even more and I'm doing meditation. I might play a guided meditation, or I might just play some like soft meditation kind of music. And I just sit there really quietly and I just breathe and I think about the things that I want for myself and how I want to feel today and how I want to be in the world. And what comes up then from doing all of that is you start to get more in touch with what is right for you. So if you are the kind of person that is not fulfilled in your life, if you are the kind of person that feels like there's more but doesn't have any idea what that means or where to look for it, this is the way that you start to gain enough awareness so that you can begin to discover what direction you need to be going in to live the best possible life you can live. You will not, if you are constantly, your mind is constantly going and you're constantly thinking about the things you need to be doing and you're constantly worrying about what needs to get done, blah, 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 all these things, you're never going to get to the point where you can realize and discover what makes you happy, what makes you light up, what your gift is
Right.
to give out to the world. You need that quiet time. So figure out. It's not advice. I'm actually, this is not coaching. This is sort of, I guess, mentorship. I'm telling you, as Melissa, figure out whatever kind of meditation works for you, what kind of quiet time works for you, maybe it's running, maybe it's when you run, you get all these
That's a
amazing
good
ideas.
point.
Whatever it is, do more of whatever puts you in that state where you're getting all those ideas and all the things that you want to do and all the things that make you excited, and start figuring out how to make them reality.
That's interesting you said that, because that was one of my questions, like advice for meditation. You bring up meditation and you mentioned running, and it might be different for a lot of other
I hate running.
individuals. It's, for me, I find it driving and about to take a shower. It's like now all the ideas come. There's no pen. I
Put a pen and paper in the shower.
know. That's
Get
what
like a laminated one.
I know. That's what I'm gonna have to do.
Yeah.
So, but you're right that, for someone else, it might be when they go running or when they're at the gym. Interesting. Is that how do you find time to meditate with all your busyness and all your projects going on?
I wake up early. I set my alarm for about 5:00 in the morning, and
Oh, wow.
I usually like really get up around maybe 5:30. But now I just downloaded this new app. It's called Sleep Timer.
That's
Sleep Timer,
interesting.
where, so you know how you have sleep cycles, right? You have like your deep sleep, then you have your not so deep sleep. Those probably have names to them. But so when your alarm goes off and you're in deep sleep, it's much harder for you to wake up.
I
And
think
that's
deep
when,
sleep is delta, if I ain't mistaken.
okay. So when you,
From the hypnosis stuff I learned.
cool. So what's the one in the middle?
You
Is
have
that,
alpha, beta. Beta is when you're awake. Alpha is first because it's alpha, so that's first, and then theta is when you're in between. That's that hypnosis type of
okay.
session. That's where the hypnotist and where you meditate and go deeper. That's that area, and then delta is
Is
sleep.
Okay. So when your alarm clock goes off and you're in Delta, that's when you wake up and it's really hard and you feel so groggy and you feel grouchy. That's Delta. That's what, because your alarm went off when you were in the deepest, most beneficial sleep. But if you wake up in Theta, or you wake up in even one above it, maybe the Beta, then it's much easier to get up. It doesn't feel so painful, and you can wake up and be sort of more fresh and more aware.
Mm,
And so when you're sleeping, you're
interesting.
going through these cycles, and this app tracks it somehow. I mean, it's not 100% exact. It's based off time, when you go to bed and when you want to wake up. And so then the alarm goes off when you're in one of those higher, more awake states, so that it's easier for you to wake up instead of hitting the snooze. So that's what I'm trying to do now, because I don't want to be hitting the snooze anymore. I want to wake up when it goes off, and I want to feel fresh and awake. And then I want to get into my meditation and stuff right after that.
Huh. Interesting. And you use that for everything, for health as well.
The meditation?
Yeah. What tips do you have to be healthy? I know meditation goes along with it, but what do you wind up doing for like health purposes? I know you probably got the vegan stuff going on and
Yeah, yeah.
exercise.
But even still, just because you're vegan doesn't mean you're the healthiest person. I mean, honestly, I run around so much that eating healthy is something I struggle with. Um, and actually, this last year, I made a promise to myself. In 2019, I made a promise to myself that I was going to really put my head down and open another business, which is the bar restaurant. And that has taken up so much time. And I was so focused on that I really, I'm not the best influence in terms of exercising and eating well.
Gotcha.
I'm not going to claim to be. However, through the meditation stuff that I'm doing, it constantly comes up, because I am very, very aware that my body is what allows me to keep going. And I can accomplish more if my body is healthier, and I can operate better with more energy, more clearly in my mind if I'm healthier and stronger. I have a recurring lower back injury. This is something. I have a recurring lower back injury, and I make it a point that I have to go get acupuncture and get massage. And for the longest time, I told myself the story that getting massages was a luxury, and I would always feel very, very guilty about that. And so I've come to a place where I realize that it's very important to maintain. I need to be exercising more, and I of course need to be eating healthier, but it's very important for me to be taking care of my lower back, and I need to get acupuncture and massage to loosen and like take care of those muscles around my back and my leg that support that.
Yeah.
So sort of any advice or my opinion on what people can do is just make it a priority. And I say this to myself as much as I'm saying it to everyone else. Make it a priority. I myself, it's every day it's in my head that I need to get back in the gym. And
just go for it. Just go. Once when you're there, it's easier.
yeah. And the other thing too is that I also believe that we shouldn't be so hard on ourselves. I believe that sort of this is, I don't know, I guess this would be a metaphor of some sort, or a visual metaphor. I imagine that we all have like these orbs that are, have you ever seen those fountains that push things up in the air with the water pressure? Like a ball, maybe a circle, and like the water pushes it up into the air and then
I think
drops.
it lights up, the ball lights up, or the water
Yeah,
lights up.
something like that. So I imagine that our life and the kind of categories that make up our life are sort of like that. Like it's a water fountain with with orbs on each spout, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so at any given time, or actually, we're always trying to get the orbs at the same level with the same amount of energy and the same amount of pressure, lifting them all up so that they're all even. That's balance. That would be 100% balanced. But what happens is certain moments, certain times in our lives, certain orbs and categories get more energy than other ones. So, for example, my professional career, my entrepreneurship, my building my wealth, that in 2019 had much more energy. That was my priority. And unfortunately, it's not great, but unfortunately, my physical, like my health and my exercising and my eating very well wasn't my main priority. My daughter is always somewhere like towards the top or maybe in the middle. That might fluctuate too a little bit, but it's never down here. It's always up here. Relationships, for me, relationships lately have been a little bit lower. So I think that our goal is always to try to get as much balance as we can across all of the categories, but at any given time, we need more hands. I need to be an octopus. But I think that we need to be a little bit more compassionate with ourselves in terms of juggling all of those categories and prioritizing them and understanding that there are different moments in life for different priorities. It's just, you should have a timeline, even if it's vague, of when you are going to prioritize the thing that you might have been neglecting.
Perfect. That was a great example.
A lot of hand gestures.
That was very interesting. So I guarantee a lot of people is going to be able to relate to that. And it's like, you know what? You're right. I can relate to that and I can see that. So, yeah. Is there anything else you would like to talk about before we wrap it up?
I think I have spoken enough.
Yes, you did a great job. Tons of great information.
Thank you so much.
Stuff.
If I were to say anything else, I would just say, if anyone has any questions or if they have any comments or things that might help them in terms of their own entrepreneurship, I would love if they would send me a DM on Instagram or send me a message from our website, and I would love to ask their question in our YouTube series for the Audacious Founder and answer their questions on there.
Perfect. Sounds good. And like I said, all those links to her website, her Instagram is going to be in the description below. And thank you, Melissa. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So for the information, the wealth of knowledge, and the tips, perfect.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
All right. Till next time, take care.
You too. Bye.
Thank you for watching this video. Please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have more videos coming out. And if you're interested in doing an interview, please send me an email, jason@work2invest.com. You can go to the About Me page on the YouTube channel for Work to Invest, and it gives you some ideas of what I'm looking for, what kind of people I want to interview, life coaches, business coaches, entrepreneurs, creators, authors, musicians, and my email address will be right here. If you're not a robot, please click on this, and my email address is jason@work2invest.com. Also, please don't forget to check out our resource page at Work to Invest. Tons of information, investing, real estate, online business tools, affiliate marketing, Kindle publishing tools. If you're an author, this would be there's even information about investing in your health, becoming a healthier person. So tons of information. Make sure you check out work2invest.com resource page. So thank you very much. Please subscribe.